Welcome to the Voice of TOR podcast. I'm your host, Luke Hay, the voice of Temple Off-Road Racing. The Voice of TOR podcast is brought to you by the Westchester Mulch Company, your number one local source for mulch, firewood, and dumpster rentals. Also brought to you by Fast Mobile Fleet Rental. At FMF Rental, we meet your storage demands with spectacular service, 24/7 availability, low rates, hassle-free, and quick deliveries. Our company is backed by more than 25 years of experience, making us the area experts in commercial and residential storage container rental needs, dock storage, jockey services, and general trailer rentals. So be sure to check out the Westchester Mulch Company and FMF Rental. Thank you for stopping by and checking out the show. This is going to be a work in progress here. I have never recorded a podcast before. My audio experience is limited to what some of you have seen at the Temple Off-Road races last year. Believe it or not, I have never done anything else with a microphone other than some goofy things in high school. So please bear with me here as I learn this whole system, and it's definitely going to get better as we go along. But I think we have got a lot of great content to bring to you guys, and I can't wait to get started here. And I think you're really going to enjoy our first show coming up. We have a very special guest. He is your 2023 Temple Off-Road Triple Crown winner, Mr. Jerod Stoner. Okay, red light means we're on. We're live right now. This is the Voice of TOR podcast. I'm your host, Luke Hay. We are here with none other than Jerod Stoner, the 2023 Triple Crown champion. Jerod, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. I am happy to be here. Where are we? What part of the state? What part of the country? And specifically, what driveway are we in?
So we're at my house right now. I'm in Lewisberry, Pennsylvania. So I'm just south of Harrisburg. And we're at the race shop now. And next door is the print shop where I have a screen printing business. So I print full time.
So that's what you do for a living, is screen printing?
Yep.
Okay, and anybody in particular, like I know obviously you're helping us out with some of our Temple off-road gear, but anybody else, like notable community people that are helping you out a lot or buying a lot of merch from you?
So I print for a ton of different industries, but in the motorcycle industry, I do for some brands like Scott Goggles. I did some stuff this year for them.
Cool.
But one of my larger ones I've done in the past is I printed for PayPal. So I do
a
lot of their.
That's got to be a unique connection, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that was, I kind of lucked into that contact, but.
That's the way it goes, man.
Yeah.
Somebody knows somebody, and then next thing you know, you're doing business with a big company like that.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's being in small business, I know how it goes like that. So you said we're here in the bike shop. I'm going to try and do my best here to sync up some of this audio with this video we're getting right now. Behind us, we got a couple of bikes here. That's going to be a question for you that I have written down. I can see we got two different bikes back there. So before we get into all that stuff, tell me real quick. I know you told us here we're in the bike shop, and you said this is your place and everything. And where anywhere to ride around here, or where's the closest place to go riding?
So fortunately, we have 19 acres here. So I grew up on the property and built a house up front. My parents' house is still here, and we have some trails up in the woods. I have a little turn track down at my house.
I did see that when we pulled in.
Yeah,
looked like it was a little. It looked like there was some fresh snow, but there was some mud. Were you motoing today?
No, I wasn't motoing today, but I bought a rototiller, so it's so good.
Oh boy. Yeah. Okay, you're getting serious about it. I guess that's all part of becoming a vet or whatever we're calling you now, what class you'll be in, but you're starting to maintain the track, buying some attachments and stuff now. That's all part of growing up. I feel like we start to enjoy that stuff more as we get older.
Right.
Building jumps and working on the track. I feel like that was the last thing you wanted to do when you got to anywhere was shovel work or anything like that, but I can respect it. No dig, no ride type of thing. I know you have some of your buddies come out, so I'm sure they help you work around the track and everything.
Yeah, now that we've gotten a little bit older, everybody does understand.
They pitch in, yeah.
Yeah, no dig, no ride. So whether somebody hops on a tractor with the grader behind it while I'm on the skid loader, and if we're going to ride at 4, they know to show up at 3.
Yeah, cool.
Put a little time in.
Yeah, it helps when everybody pitches in. You don't have any freeloaders.
Right.
And when people don't bring any extra guys either. Remember that. If you get invited, just stick to your invite. All right, so let's get right into the meat and potatoes of this thing. I got a whole bunch of great questions here. And again, it's the first time for this. I know it's your first time doing something like this. So we're just going to keep it casual and talk dirt bikes like we do when you're up on the podium, which is, pretty regularly. So I feel like we're going to have the same conversation. So, all right, real quick. My first question here, kind of like a prelude. This is all going to kind of like lead into one question into the next. So let's rewind a couple months here. Let's go back to last year, 2023. Tegan Temple reaches out to you, tells you that he's going to throw his name in the hat of Dirt Bike Series and see if he can't get something off the ground. And he wants to do something a little different. He wants to do a GP series. And, what's going through your head when, the very beginning when Tegan said, hey, I want to have a Triple Crown. Do you want to help out? Do you want to race it? Do you want to work it? I know he was, he was looking for any help he could get from you. So just take me back to that moment. What were your first original thoughts about the entire thing?
So when I first heard about the TOR GPs, I was excited. The J Days kind of came about after I was done racing when I was about 24 or 25.
And since you mentioned that real quick, I want to nip this in the bud since we're early in the first show here. There is no competition with the J-Day guys. This isn't a copycat league or anything like that. Yes, it is essentially the exact same concept. We're talking about off-road GP racing. It is not like we're copycatting them or taking anything from them or I want to be as transparent as possible that Ethan Broach and Tegan Temple are tight buddies. Tegan did an internship up there. I actually went up and I worked a couple races myself. I was up there at Heeman's last year for that doubleheader. And, we kind of paid our dues to try to learn how to run a successful race. So if anything, like the old saying is imitation is the sincerest form of, or imitation is, somebody help me with that one. Flattery, imitation, flattery, something like that. Doesn't it go along with that?
Is it best form of flattery? I don't know.
Imitation, I don't know. You guys look that one up for me. Somebody's got to help me pull that one out. But my point is that the J-Day guys know how to put on a successful show. So, of course, we would want to take a few pages out of their book. So, sometimes I see people commenting on Facebook or Instagram who say, oh, just like J-Day or something, this, that, the other thing. Well, that's the point. J-Day kicks ass, and we want to take a page out of their book. So, keep that in the back of your mind there, that there's no ill will, no bad blood. We love those guys. And anyway, just want to nip that in the bud so people can stop whispering around the tracks or this, that, and the other thing. So moving right along, I didn't mean to cut you off. No, you heard about the J-Day stuff and you knew what it was like, how awesome J-Day is. Go on from there.
Well, so, and I never got to do a J-Day because I was kind of done racing for the time being. I was racing bicycles and kind of doing my own thing. So when Tegan had said, hey, we're going to start this series up, I'm like, dude, I've been wanting to go up and do one of them for a while because I do a little bit of motocross. Of course, I grew up in the off-road, so it seems like the best of both worlds.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm in. Whatever I can, I'm going to be at him. I knew he was running the Triple Crown this year, so I was like, my season was wrapping up. I made a chase at the ranch this year. I was unsuccessful, but hey, that's racing.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds pretty sick, though. That's a story for another day.
Right. And I got done trying at the regionals, and I was like, hey, there's 3 races this winter, or this fall. I'm in pretty good shape. My aggression's pretty good, and let's remember how to ride the woods again.
Yeah.
So I was all in. So I was really excited for it.
Cool. So you were on board. You kind of thought it might be a little bit like J-Day, and you were finally going to get a taste of an off-road GP, not so much that Moto GP. So you were in, you heard it was going to be a little Triple Crown, 3 races. You had good stamina. The aggression was right. The bike was right. Everything was feeling good for you. So at what point did you realize that you actually had a chance to win the Pro Class Championship? Let alone, when did you realize that you were actually competitive in that class?
The first race at Hurricane Hills, I was like, cool, I'm going to do AVET and Open A because I wanted to race twice, 2 hours on the bike. I drove the whole way up there. I might as well ride as much as I can. And I went back to the pits, and my one buddy was like, just run Pro Open.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, now I'm not a pro anymore.
Yeah.
So, they kind of, we bust balls a lot. So they busted them enough that I walked back down, and I was like, let's switch A Open. Let's go to Pro Open. We'll see what kind of day it's going to be. So,
yeah, definitely put some smiles on some faces at registration.
And, I got a good start and put my head down, started racing, and I think ended up second that race. And I was like, well, I guess we're kind of in it. Round 2, I was definitely felt a little bit off pace that day in general. Plus, there was some real heavy hitters there. So I figured, hey, I'm going to, ride as good as I can. And here we went to round 3 was 5 points separating top 4.
Yeah, it was really anybody's. It could have gone a couple different ways.
Yeah, and I realized that. So I was like, well, here we are. Let's give it all we got. If we win, great. If not, I had a lot of fun racing with my buddies and looking forward to next year. So,
well, you had the right attitude going in, but I feel like, even you can be as humble as you want, but I know being a racer, and you mentioned it earlier, that aggression and the competitiveness, I know that it was, sometimes that takes over, and, you kind of put all that, you have fun with your buddies racing, but I know you wanted to win deep down inside, and I know it was a little bit more important to you than just having fun out there. So that's cool, and I can respect that too, man. So obviously you won the championship, and you put on a great show for everybody. It was fun for me to watch, being a long-time fan, grew up watching it when I was hitting the D6s and the ECAs, and as we were talking earlier about the NEOCs and everything. So it's kind of just like, come full circle that, when Tegan and I were kids growing up, you were kind of just like the next, the next generation above us, and, one of those guys that we always got to look up to. So I know that Tegan, definitely took some inspiration from you throughout his youth for sure. He was, I'm a few years older than Tegan, so if I was on a mini bike and you were on a big bike at the time, that means Tegan might have just been getting off of a 65. So I know that, when you're younger, you're so impressionable like that. And I know he has shared some cool memories that he has of old times racing and stuff at the locals with you. So it's just awesome that we're able to, come together from years of racing. The racing community sometimes gets like a weird vibe, or like a rap show, where people don't talk to each other, or they're not friendly and everything. And the Temple family is like the friendliest people that I've ever met in my life. So it's like they pretty much introduced me to everything that is like off-road racing and dirt bikes when it comes to this side of things, tagging along to all the races with them, GNCCs and everything. So again, not to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm just talking about how we're able to come together, do a cool podcast, and you're selling T-shirts for them, and you're also having that competitive fire, like, no way in hell am I losing this race. Right, I know. Right. So it's not just all fun and games. It's not just a love fest. We're also out here dedicated racing and dedicated to racing. So that's probably like the coolest part for me, is just seeing it all come full circle. So again, let's just chat real quick. A little bit more history of all the stuff that you've done. All the places that your racing careers brought you. You did mention about the ranch there earlier, and you never got to a J day. So I know that it's not like you've done every single thing, but you've done a lot of different racing, a lot of different series. You kind of have an idea of what works, what doesn't work. So with that said, how is TOR similar to those other series, and how is it different than those other series?
So the talking with Tegan before he even started the series, he works by himself, I work by myself. So occasionally we just throw our AirPods on and chat for 20 minutes or maybe an hour and a half, depending on the day.
Yeah.
And with doing all the different types of races, off-road, motocross, and some enduros and whatever it may be from when I was a kid, the number one thing that I think Tegan and I both agreed on is, you can set up the best event, you can have all your ducks in a row for everything, but 9 times out of 10, if a rider's going to be upset, it's because of the format not staying on schedule.
Right.
So like with motocross, I've been to, a bunch of them last year, and next thing you know, they're, 45 minutes behind. Yeah. And you're like, I'm like 19th moto.
Yeah, and you're like getting psyched up to ride. And
I didn't put my headlight on because I'm not running the enduro.
Yeah.
So, and Tegan knew that, and I think the whole TOR group knew that. Of course, there is, things can happen, things can run behind schedule, but like to keep that format that, hey, if your moto's at 210, as a racer, come 1 o'clock, you start thinking about it. Come, 1:15, you get
start getting those jitters,
and if it's like a 210 start, you want to be at the line by like 150,
Right.
155-ish. And even though you just sit there, whether it's hot or cold or
yeah,
raining,
yeah.
you want to get that. You want to know that
That's the race before the race.
Right, exactly. So, you get prepared and then you sit on the line and you already have like 15 minutes dedicated to just sitting there and, doing nothing. Well, if the event is now 20 minutes behind that, now you got to take a leak. You know?
Yeah.
Now you're getting frustrated.
Yep. Yeah. You're starting to get worried, lose focus. Yeah, your mind starts wandering.
Right. So I think that's one thing that the whole tour group kept in mind, and especially with so many races. A hare scramble, for example, like an ECA. I forget how the format's are. It's been a while, but you only have like 4 races during the day.
Right.
But with the tour stuff, you have.
Don't ask me.
Like 12. I think.
Yeah, there's 6 races throughout the day, and there's anywhere between 4 and sometimes 5 lines per race. Yeah. So you have 2 motos, so 2 races. So what? Somebody would do that math. I'm not sure here. I don't have a calculator, and I didn't graduate college, so I don't know how to do multiplication.
Yeah, and then a little bit further is like moto, where they might have 20 motos going through twice. So they're right in the middle, and I think they did a really good job this year, especially with the first 3 and the Triple Crown. And everybody's pretty new at we've all raced events, but running an event, I think they did a really good job at it.
So it sounds like time. I just made a big note here so I can share that with Tegan. So I'm sure he'll listen to this podcast. At least I hope he will. But the timing, keeping things on track, and even though we did have some pretty gnarly conditions, and that sets the time schedule back and everything there. But that's also the unique part about GP racing and the 30-minute motos is that we have that little bit of time where we can kind of adjust where we need to throughout the day. Maybe trim a little bit of time here and there on some motos, maybe not. Just putting that out there. If you're running a 28-minute moto, maybe it's because we didn't need you to go to a 32, so you might get cut a lap short. So that stuff all plays into it. I know a lot of sometimes people wonder like, well, wait a second, last moto I did this many laps. Why did I only do this laps? And sometimes it's because we got to keep the show on the road here. And again, it's kind of a case by case. Like some days it's going to be perfect and the flag's going to drop right on time every time. Sometimes it's going to be delayed by 15, 20 minutes. Maybe it's delayed by an hour. But with the 30-minute motos, it's much easier to curtail and adjust rather than being committed to that 1 2-hour race or that 1 3-hour race for the hare scramble, whatever, the GNCC, whatever it might be, where it's like, well, if that race gets delayed an hour or two, that GNCC might be finishing under the lights, like it. Not that we had to finish a couple under the lights this year, but that was because of daylight savings times. That wasn't our fault. Right. So definitely time. It seems like I'm might make a special note of that, was keeping everything on track here. And I can totally see and agree. I've done my share of racing, and even at the most minuscule open C and C200 level, I still know what you mean. It's like if the race is at 9:30, I'm panicking at 8:30, right. And if I get to the line at 9:30 and find out that we're sitting around, like that's not good for the psyche. So I totally respect that. All right, moving right along here. Check out what else I got written down here, prepared for you as we wait for Tegan to show up here. Hoping timing is going to work out pretty good for us. I haven't seen any messages come in for him yet, so he's probably right around the corner. So, okay, so fast forward a couple of months. You've taken home the 2023 Triple Crown Championship. We're here in your shop located in, where are we?
We're in Lewisberry,
Pennsylvania, just south of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And we are exactly 30 days out from round 1 of the 2024 season. So tell me, with that said, what have you been up to as far as training goes, riding? I know you mentioned you ride right out the back door here, but where else you're riding? Who are you riding with? Who are you training with? And not to throw too much more on your plate, but what are your goals for 2024? So first, just tell us about the riding and the training, and then we'll talk about your goals for this year.
Yeah, so I was pretty motivated, once the tour stuff started. It kind of like relit my fire that I haven't really had since I was a kid with racing. I raced bicycles.
Yeah, more full time and stuff.
Yeah, and racing bicycles, I was super committed to that. And getting into the motorcycles, like I feel like I kind of have another fire, and I may not be as fast as I used to be, and that's totally fine. I'm cool with it. At the end of the day, I want to go race my dirt bike, hang out with my buddies, especially the ones I haven't seen in forever.
For sure.
And side note, like heading down to Jersey for the last round was great. I haven't been in Jersey in years.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of old friends that I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
They're still doing it. Maybe their kids are doing it. Like
Yeah.
it was just kind of came full circle. So, after the last race, I was pretty excited. I wasn't expecting that, starting my year out. I didn't think, that I'd win the tour stuff. Like,
yeah.
So, looking, it stayed pretty mild all year. So I was, got to ride here. I went south for, around Thanksgiving, which was nice with a couple buddies. And then I have a rower. I've been rowing a little bit, cycle a little bit.
It seems like the rower is a favorite of the moto guys. It's just a great way to stay in shape, total body workout.
Yeah, and in 15 or 20 minutes, I mean, you're pretty well smoked.
Yeah.
So, been riding at the house. I found a place down near Reading. It's called the Basin.
Private track, invite only.
I don't even know.
Okay.
It just kind of happened. So, I went there a couple times with some buddies. I ran into Thorn a couple weeks ago, which was great because we got to go out.
Yeah, he knows all the local hot spots. Guy just rides and doesn't stop.
And he's a good dude, and I was happy. I've talked to him on and off over the years, of course, but dude, you got to give it to him. He's enjoying riding his bike.
For sure, he is.
He's quick as can be right now. But he's excited about it.
So he was on a Sherco. He posted on the Sherco. You got any stories on that? No.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Even
very
if I know,
interesting.
I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. I know he was definitely. Everybody was checking out his Instagram the other day, so I'm hopping over the log and checking out the Sherco, and they just signed. Who the heck did they just sign? Sherco has now a couple of different guys. If they signed Thorn, but who am I thinking of? Is Strang on a Sherco this year?
I don't know.
God, I just was hearing listening to another podcast talking about Shercos, but anyway. So you're riding with Thorn, the Basin, some places. You said you were down south.
We went down to Carolinas right around Thanksgiving.
What tracks you hit down there?
West Craven.
Okay.
Good sand track. You can run a paddle down there.
Okay.
And then they have a really good woods loop. So actually, that was before the last race.
Oh, okay.
So.
It was December. We were racing in December still. Yeah.
So and then we've been riding behind at the house here a little bit, just because the ground hasn't really.
That's what I was gonna say. Relatively mild. Yeah.
It's been good. We had a couple really good days, and we have a couple inches of snow out there now, but the ground's not frozen, so it should go away soon.
And you got a tiller now too, so you can extend the days a little bit here in the winter.
So I'm hoping, and it depends on the shop and everything, because it's been busy, which is good. But I'd like to head down to Florida in the next week or two, and just kind of get out of the weather, maybe get sunburned,
shake some of the rust off.
Yeah, and it's all the first race is in Jersey as well, so riding sand down there wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yep. Tegan will be talking about that here in just a minute when he rolls in, but that's going to be down at the Judge GP is what we're calling that one, and it is, from what I understand, it's just another 10, 15 minutes away from NJMP. And this is going to be a brand new track. Again, it's a private property, so it's has not been hacked up yet. Tegan had just started working on it, so when he hops on here, he'll update us on his track work. It'll be fresh because I know he was just there yesterday, so I'm sure he'll be excited to talk to us about it. So, so we just talked about your training, your riding, and you mentioned Thorn, but any other big names or any other local guys that maybe you've been training with or anybody pushing you? Who's pushing you right now?
Well, that day riding with Thorn was fun. We went out and I said, hey, let's do a couple laps. I'm going to pull him behind you. Dude, I hadn't ridden that hard in a while.
Yeah.
So it was good. I made a couple mistakes, lost some time. He pulled away from me. But at the end of the day, I still I felt like a kid, chasing around, having a good time. And my body still works fine. It's just that I think what I want to do this year is kind of focus on the motorcycle a little bit more and not so much overall speed, but I lost a lot of form taking that time off. So my elbows tend to droop, my back's kind of bent when it shouldn't be, and just that little stuff that I think if I can figure those out again, the speed, I don't think I'll ever
tune it up a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
And realistically, I don't think I'll ever be as fast as I used to be, but at the same time, at now, as of yesterday, 35, I still want to do as best as I can.
You must be watching too much Supercross, because that seems like that's all they talk about now is form and technique. It's not about who's riding the motorcycle the fastest or who's holding it out there. And guys like Jet, who just have just this crazy flow and technique, and they're always in the right spot on the bike, and their form is always right. So you're on the right track, obviously, if those are the things you're trying to tune in.
Well, my dad really pushed it when I was younger.
Okay.
And, you know, the whole theory behind it is you know, you're going to make mistakes riding a motorcycle. It's obvious. You know, you hit a rock wrong, whatever, you cross rut. And if your form's out of whack, the chances of you hitting the ground are much higher.
Right.
And then if you can work on form, I mean, you can still fall, you can still really get yourself banged up, but especially trying to bump up the speed and intensity, you don't want to lose that, you know, just lose your form.
Yeah.
And as you fatigue, you know.
Yeah, it's easy to get sloppy.
Right. Your elbows drop or you know, you're not sticking your foot straight out and you end up jamming it or whatever.
Yeah, that's when accidents happen. Yeah, when you start to lose your...
Yeah, I think at least that's a mentality now. I mean,
yeah, it's smart. Yeah, we're not 18 and 24 anymore, or whatever the hell it was when we were at Flying Dutchman racing D6.
Right.
But okay, all right. So definitely focusing on the form makes sense. It seems to be a hot topic for this year, or for just recently in general. I feel like everybody, even at the youth level, I feel like it's just emphasized so much more now, like riding schools and stuff, where they're just like everything else is like comes second, like hitting the jumps and everything else and going fast on the bike. It's like first, like you need to learn where your body needs to be on the motorcycle to go out and get around these turns and navigate the ruts and everything. And when I was younger, we didn't really have anybody instructing us on stuff like that. Once in a while, we'd be riding down at Tegan's place, and Todd would take somebody's seat off if they were sitting down too much. Okay, that was about as far as it got for us for training. So that was how you learned real quick that you better stand up if you're going to go riding over there. So form, technique, it's all part of speed, and it's going to help you stay off the ground too. So, all right, very good, very good. So I just saw a text. Tegan's about 10 minutes out. So that is going to be perfect for us here, because I'm going to wrap up you and I's part here, or you and I, or me and you, with 5 kind of like rapid questions. I'm going to ask you. I just want you to answer. Don't think. They're not too crazy. They're just they're all relatable. So I hope everybody can kind of enjoy this and maybe give a little bit more, like, you know, personal info about the kind of guy you are. All right. So first, 2-stroke or 4-stroke?
Well, I've got one of each, but I think I'm always going to be a 2-stroke guy.
2-stroke. Moto or woods?
I like riding moto, but I like racing in the woods.
Okay. Beer or liquor?
I don't do either.
Okay, fair enough. Favorite all-time racer across it could be anybody. It could be your dad. It could be Travis Pastrana, anybody.
So that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, keeping it local, like, you know, like Mike Lafferty. I mean, he was everybody's hero when we were kids, and for me, I was fortunate enough that I got to, you know, ride with him and spend some time with him, and, you know, going to Jersey again, like I hadn't seen Mike in years.
Yeah, his heyday was your like youth come up, pretty much, right?
Right. Yeah, and he really helped me when I was a kid.
Okay.
So, I mean, all of them put together, like, you know, he's our local guy, and he's still at the races. Yeah. He's still doing it. So, he's got to be close to 100 now. So, you know, and he still goes good.
Yeah.
So,
yep. And he's scratching 100.
Fun story about Mike is at Hurricane Hills, he ran A senior, I ran A vet. We were on the same line.
Yep.
And, you know, it started out on the moto track, and I was like, it's on. Let's get going.
Yeah. So
I went and I kind of I think I got into the lead going into the woods. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ripping. Well, here comes Mike flying through the woods, and I'm like, oh, I forgot how to ride the woods.
Yeah.
So we came out to the moto track, and I caught back up to him, and like I said, I'm not gonna pass this guy. So I came in and I stayed behind him, and still to this day, like, he's smooth, he hits his marks, like just that extra lap of me following him, I was like, man, guy still got it.
Yeah, still dialed in. Yeah, that's crazy. It's and it's fun. Again, it's something that makes our sport unique. Not just dirt bikes, but specifically like off road, where we can we have that chance every once in a while where that Mike Lafferty or that pro guy is going to show up, that Stu Baylor or that Ben Kelly is going to show up at a local race, and the local pros can go out there and battle with the fastest guys in the country racing the nationals. That's just something I feel like that. Like, somebody playing, pickup basketball, like LeBron James isn't going to walk onto the court at LA Fitness,
I mean, Craig showed up at Eagles Nest.
Exactly. Perfect example.
And Andrew as well, who had a national enduro championship.
Yeah. Fast
both
guys.
Those guys, showed up.
Yep.
Craig's number one in the country right now.
Crazy. So. Yeah. Again, a perfect example where it's just like you don't get that with other sports. And sure, we're in a niche sport, dirt bikes, and then make it even smaller, off-road, in the woods world, enduro. And it's just so cool that the top guys in the sport can come out and mix it up with, the local guys. I think that's just so unique. And I don't know, I kind of try to paint that picture of, LeBron James walking into the rec league basketball, because it's kind of the same thing. If Craig DeLong shows up at Temple Off-Road, there's really no difference. The number one guy in the world in our sport shows up at our race. So that's some pretty cool stuff. Okay, so that was your favorite racer. Now I have one more for you. Best investment for a young racer to make, or any moto parents listening right now. What do you think is the most important thing that they can do?
I mean, we kind of got to it earlier. I really think it's form. Just working on that, whether you find a local fast guy or something who will help work with your kids on, you can go and you can put all this money into, getting the rig and the bikes and all the cool gear, and that stuff's all great. But, I've seen some really, some guys who really look the part of a fast guy.
Right.
And then they get out there and you're like, okay.
Your wallet's a little deeper than the rest of the program.
So, at the end of the day, now I've seen some guys with some pretty beat up bikes that just rip.
Yeah.
So I think just working on, as a rider, just the basic stuff, and also getting your bike set up. And that doesn't mean that you have to go out and get cone valves, even though I have a set.
It's more like figuring out where you're comfortable with your levers and the sag, maybe even that might be a little too far, but tightening your chain, little things like that, cleaning your air filter, becoming familiar with your motorcycle at a young age.
Yeah. And just working on that, and, I guess I'm a big form guy. Now. I didn't know,
we're discovering it. We're pulling it out of here. Having to come to Jesus moment here.
Yeah.
So the one thing I just made a note of here was you said sometimes it really helps when a younger rider has some guidance, someone looking over their shoulder, a fast guy at the track or whatever. Which that brings me to my next point, which was ask for help. Don't be afraid to if you're at the track or if you're at practicing or if you're even at a race. Maybe not like right after the guy's done motoing, but like if you're pitting next to a guy who's in A class and your son is his second year racing is 85 or something like that, like don't hesitate to go ask that guy, like, hey man, like what do you think, like my son's bike, like I just wanted to make a quick adjustment. Do you have any recommendations? And little things like that, or like how what we talked about earlier, those relationships get started. And then it's like, okay, you asked him the one question about how to tighten the chain, and then next weekend you see him and you park next to each other again, you guys are grilling hamburgers together. Right. And then the next weekend after that, you're planning a riding trip to the next track. And then next thing you know, your son is getting guidance from an A rider at a very young level. And all it takes is just asking for help. So I know it can be scary at the races and everything and intimidating. But listen, if you're there, I said it earlier about, trying to like promote inclusivity and drawing in the guys from all different, backgrounds of racing and everything. And it doesn't have to be always competition. I'm sure we want to win. We're at the races for a reason, but don't be afraid to just be neighborly and be a friend. We're all in here for the same reason. It's because we love dirt bikes, and that's it. It's as easy as that. Just be nice and neighborly. All right, now, since we have another minute here, I think I might have heard Tegan pull up, but he's not in here yet. I did have one bonus question written down here, and this is a hot topic for debate right now, and I'm somewhere in the middle because it really hurts my heart to even think about it. But electric dirt bikes, yay or nay?
Dude, there's something about just ripping a dirt bike. I did race bicycles for a couple years, and doing crit races and all that stuff, like it's fun and intense, but there's something about just the smell, the hearing them.
Yep.
Especially like a motocross. I mean, you get to like Unadilla to go watch the Nationals.
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
You could be on the other end of the hillside and you're like, she turned the board sideways. Because, it's echoing off.
Yep.
I understand the electric bikes. I think the electric bike is good for the kids for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the Stasic races, which we're going to go see tonight at
Yep.
Motorama.
Yep.
And the kids having that
a little more opportunity,
bike. Right? Especially if like mom and dad have a development or live in a development, but the kids want to race, but they're working a lot. They can't take them to the track every day. They can go burn through those batteries.
Yep. And spin laps in the backyard all day long.
Right. And not have the HOA on their back.
Yeah. Nobody will know they're doing anything over there.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's cool that they have the electric bikes, but I mean, maybe I'm also like, I'd rather a carburetor on the 2-stroke.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm a little bit old school.
Yeah. You still have that in your blood. You've been you were raised tuning 2-strokes at the races. Right. So no experience. You haven't swung a leg over a Stark or anything.
I haven't. I've seen them around. I mean, they
getting more popular here and there. You see them around.
If I get the chance to ride one, I definitely won't turn it down.
For sure.
It would take a bit for me to fully commit to that.
Yeah.
As far as like buying an electric bike, but
they're not cheap.
I've only heard good about them.
Yeah, that's what scares me.
Yeah.
Like I want everyone to hate them,
right?
But when I hear people say good things about them, I'm like, okay, like I kind of like it. Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say it, but
they were like 80 horsepower.
Yeah, and the mapping and stuff. It's just like because I like to not that I'm fast because I am very very slow, but I like to play around with the bike. I like to be familiar with it, so it's cool that you get one of those and it's funny like you can dumb it down and map it and play with it and like do starting stuff. Start maps, like that stuff fascinates me. Learning more about all that, but. I don't own any 4-strokes. I have 2-strokes, and I don't see myself getting anything new in the future. But I'll be holding on to the 2-strokes for a long time. I don't think we're ever gonna, at least in our generation, I don't think we'll ever see the demise of gas bikes or petrol-powered machines, if you will. But it's coming. It's knocking on the door, and I just figured I'd pick your brain about that one since they're becoming so popular. And again, I mean, we're probably going to see them at the races here sooner or later. I'm hoping that we don't. Unfortunately, I'll say this like blatantly. I have no problem admitting this. I do not want to see any electric bikes on the pro line at Temple Off-Road Racing. I am not discriminating against you guys. However, with a dead engine start, they are very dangerous. I've seen it happen where there's a particular rider in New England who tends to sometimes show up to enter those races, the J Days, with an electric motorcycle, and he is those bikes they're just too good off the start because it's not a dead engine. So
guaranteed hole shot.
Yes, guaranteed hole shot, and when you're hypothetically holding 80 horsepower wide open into a turn of 40 guys, sometimes it doesn't end very well. So that's all I'm saying. I think it's great for the sport, great innovation, but for our type of racing where they're doing dead engine starts, I just don't think that we've adapted. We're not there yet. We don't have a solution to make it fair for everybody. So it's not fair for the gas bikes at that point. But all right. Well, I hope I didn't nag on the electric bikes there too much. But I've seen what those things are capable of, and they scare me and they excite me at the same time. So all right. Well, I don't know where Tegan is. I guess we want to bring him in. You can have him walk right in right now. We don't have to. I hope he wasn't waiting for us to tell him to come in.
Oh, was he?
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, we don't mind the door for a second.
You want to pause it? I'll get another chair.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, pause that real quick. Okay, and Tegan has finally made it here through the door as he traveled up from Jersey. He was literally just cutting trail yesterday for round 1, and he is here now joining us in Jerod's shop to wrap up our first episode here. I just wanted to check in with Tegan as we are 30 days out from round 1, and since he was cutting trail yesterday, I figured perfect opportunity to pick his brain and hear about what he's excited about for this upcoming season, and in particular, round 1. Okay, so Tegan, what's up, man?
Not much. Just been, working away at it. Had a lot of guys out there yesterday cutting trail, and got the whole layout of round 1 all kind of figured out and putting it all together. It's another new location for this year, and I think it's going to be cool. We'll be going back there twice, but they got so much virgin ground there. It's like 200 acres.
And specifically, where are we talking about?
This is in Millville. It's right around the corner from the Motorsports Park.
Okay.
So it's only, I think, like 2-3 miles away.
And is this a motocross facility?
No, this is just a farm. Mostly wooded, has a lot of wide roads cut through the woods.
Okay. So what kind of racing are you anticipating?
I think it's more wooded, but it's gonna be faster flowing woods. A lot of lines. So I almost want to say it would benefit more of a woods guy.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's gonna be fast. It's gonna be sugary sand. So
Oh, wait, let me say that you said it's going to benefit the woods guys, so the moto guys probably just heard a little.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're going to work on that sound effects, but I figured I'd throw one in there.
Yeah.
So cool. All right, so it's a farm, not a dedicated motocross track, over 200 acres, virgin ground. So you were down there, had the brush hog out. So you got like starting sections figured out, anything like, unique features that you're like, you're stoked that you're going to be able to incorporate, or anything that you feel comfortable sharing with us before, without leaking too much?
Yeah, it's they have these roads carved in pretty much all over the place. It's like a maze in there. It's easy actually to get turned around trying to get the lay of the land. But there's some rolling hills and stuff, and the landowner's really cool. We're going to try and actually push up some jumps and some tabletops and see what we can do with the time we got left.
I would expect nothing less from you.
Yeah, yep. And I think just like Motorsports Park, it's a shame, Jersey's tough with the barricades and the mesh fencing, keeping everybody off the track. We did it. We laid it out the best we could. I think it's going to be pretty cool for spectating.
Yeah, it sounds like the carts. It sounds like they can maybe just hop on a walking path and get to a farther back spot in the track.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. You'll catch a guy and then he'll go out and do a loop, and then you can basically spin around, walk across the track, and catch him again.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So.
Obviously, that's part of the big goal too with our series and GP Racing is that we want you guys to be able to see your rider when you come out there. We don't want this also to just be a unique experience for the rider, but we're dedicating this to the whole racer and fan experience. So when you come out, it's not going to be, an hour until the next time you see your rider. You're going to see your rider while they're on the track every 7 or 8 minutes, or maybe even less if they're a really fast guy. So that's just part of the brilliance of GP racing and the smaller format and the shorter courses. It just allows us to really manage the race in such a better way. And you're going to hear a little bit later on when you listen to the podcast, Jerod and I were talking about it. But I'll let you know now, the one thing that he said that he noticed that stood out in particular was your ability to manage the race efficiently and keep everything on a decent time track, whether that's, shortening some motos here or curtailing the track there, just to make sure that the riders are still staying on somewhat of a dedicated time frame, because that's really important for the riders and the racers, obviously, because they want to be ready for their race on time, blah, blah, blah. So Jerod was giving you props for keeping the race day on track. So, all right, let me see what else I got for you here, Tegan. Okay, so, so yeah, you told me that this was right around the corner from NJMP. Do you want to just say like how this all came about? Like this was just somebody you knew, or is this somebody, an old friend, or how did you end up securing this new never before ridden facility?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited about the new series and stuff, and it really hasn't been tracking places down. They kind of start coming and finding me. The same thing with Elmer. It was another dirt bike guy. Both Elmer and the Judge GP, the first one, they're dirt bike guys. They have dirt bike backgrounds and stuff, and they wanted to get involved. And just like the Elmer guy, for instance, he always wanted to have a race, but wasn't quite big enough to host a hare scramble.
Yep,
so this was something he could do. He made 2 or 3 rounds this past year and loved it and wanted to get involved.
So basically, people weren't afraid to seek you out and ask what your thoughts were about maybe holding a race or asking for your help or this, that, the third.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Yeah, we talked about that earlier too, about just introducing yourself to people at the races and becoming familiar and friendly with people and just making connections. We were talking about, being small business owners and, how one thing leads to another, and it's usually because of a connection from a friend of somebody who knows somebody. So it never burn your bridges and never be afraid to ask for help. That's 2 things I can give you. That's my 2 cents for this podcast, where never burn your bridges and never be afraid to ask for help. So before we wrap this up, Tegan, we are all here in the shop just south of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It is Saturday, February 17th, and this is sort of like a it's called, I don't know, it's like a local holiday or like a Pennsylvania tradition here, Motorama. It is right up the street from us, and we're going to go up as a crew here and check out some of the racing action or racing carnage, whichever you really want to call it. It is entertaining nonetheless. So we're going to wrap up this pod, go check out some racing, and the next time that you guys hear from us will be, my goal is to try and put one out here within the week leading up to round one. So whether that is the day before, the night before, or the Monday before, to be determined, but I'm going to do my best to put something together for you guys as a little bit of a preview once we have more information on the course, once I've been able to put eyes on it myself and investigate it and get the scoop. I'm going to deliver it for you guys here. So please stay tuned. And Tegan, is there anything that you want to leave us with or anything that you want to remind anybody about?
Nothing coming to mind.
Let me help you, buddy. Get your memberships right now.
Yes, memberships.
TORracing.org. TORRACING.org. Sign up now for your 2024 membership. Anything else, Tegan?
I will say there's a lot that came through. I believe around like 300 members already. So
wow. Okay, awesome.
I think everybody's on it and excited and getting their numbers locked in.
Sick.
So I think another thing is take a look at the rule book. Rules have changed. Classes have changed. Format, everything's pretty much the same. Race day schedule, a couple of changes there to benefit more people riding two classes. So should be fun. If you're looking for more seat time, I think it will be good for this season.
Right on. All right, guys. So memberships, read the rule book, check out some of the new classes. And what was the last thing? Did I miss something there?
No, I think you got it.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to call that a podcast, and our first recording here in what couldn't have been in a better location. Jerod, thanks for all your hospitality, man, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.